Larry was there. Anyway, down at the High Flash, we ran across a gentleman who overheard our conversation, and it turns out he actually is a member of the Guest family. He shares some of our distant relatives, and he did want to be included in tonight's festivities. So I think I've been informed that he is here, and here he comes now. A man known to me as Angus Black Sheep Guest. But, hey. Don't worry, Angus, you're among friends. Actually, you're among family, and it's a cash bar, but we'll take care of you.
Okay, boy, I can't believe it. Does any of you see the resemblance?
Angus, you'll have to excuse me.
What's wrong with you?
I forgot. Last night's a bit of a blur, Angus. It's coming back to me now.
I was there later than you.
How did you? Yeah.
How did we get to this country?
Yeah. Fill in the details. Where did we miss you in the last invitation to the?
Well, way back, the McCallums were driven from Scotland for sorry, I'm getting worked up here. For only the reason, simply because of the work we did to support our families.
What kind of work was that?
We were cattle thieves.
I guess that's a little unusual. I thought most people were coming to this country to escape religious persecution.
But that's how I got my name, Angus. Yes, it was also religious, for religious reasons,
You might
because
want to look at this.
I want to look at your questions.
To help me, but
Because it's almost over. Because
the religious
religious persecution, we were followers of Manuel Hutenmorgen.
I still am. Be careful. That's pretty dear to me, that stuff. But I do have one question. I wanted to ask you about a famous relative we share, and that's Edgar Guest.
Who?
Edgar Guest, the poet. You know, he wrote a poem a day for
Edgar
40
Guest.
years.
Oh, yeah. It's just like William Shakespeare. How could he write all that? A poem a day for 40 years. I'll tell you what, he wrote a poem every other day. I wrote half those poems. It takes a heap of living to make a house a home. It takes a heap of loving to make a house a home. And there once was a man from Toledo who said something about a torpedo.
Okay, Morgan, hey, that's Angus Black Sheep Guest.
And then the other memory I have was of the last reunion, where, for most poignant memory for me, was when Ladd gave a toast to Jeremiah.
I was going to say that one too.
For his service, and I cried, and probably a lot of you cried, out of how well-spoken Ladd was about it, and how thoughtful and from the heart it was, and also for Jeremiah, who I love, and for serving our country, and so that's a great memory for me.
That's awesome.
Well, I have a memory of a fun moment of the reunion, one of the earlier ones, where some of you may not have been old enough to remember this reunion, which the banquet was at the Bobcat. There was some reggae music sung by the Five Sibs, and I think we ought to reprise that. We're not afraid of our roots, are we? No.
Let's rock reggae.
Let's get on to our last question. To close our panel, we'd like to ask the Sibs an important question that will help carry on our family values in future generations to come. What is one trait you have inherited from your mom and dad that you are most proud of and hope to see carry on
Okay,
throughout our family?
I want to answer.
Yeah.
What a good question. It was from my dad, and he was.
Get your
He
mouth.
never went to college, and he was one of the smartest men I've ever known. And I feel like he taught me, as a person and as a woman, that there was nothing in the world that I wanted to do that I couldn't do if I wanted to do it bad enough. And I would love to pass that on to everybody else in my family, because I think that's the most important thing that he ever gave me.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Well, I said to my daughter-in-law, Stephanie, today, and I was thinking about it before that, I just wish my mom and dad were here to see everybody. Wouldn't that be fun for them? Yeah. I inherited one thing from my mother. She would be proud of this. That I can tell pretty much from a plastic container how big it has to be to hold the leftovers.
That's wonderful. I got that too. I'm pretty good at that. I would say about Dad, in appreciation for what Judy said, that he was endlessly curious about everything in the world. It's what made him so smart. And I agree that we all should learn from our grandfather and take on that. I try to be as curious about all the things that he would show me. And the other thing he did was he was never afraid, in all the traveling he did, to walk up to people he didn't know and make interesting conversation about that person. Learn what that person was doing and what made them fascinating people. He was very generous to, it didn't matter whether they were rich or poor. He wanted to know what about their life. And that is something I really appreciate about my dad. Mother was also, Dad was curious and smart. Mother was smart, and she just had a sense of humor that I've always loved. I had a conversation with Dad once. I think I was working at Service Envelope where he worked. And his father died when he was how old?
10.
Dad was 10. And I don't know I'm not sure what the conversation was, but he said his dad was a nice guy. So he kind of wanted to be he took that on and tried to be a nice guy. Just to kind of, to honor his dad.
Yeah, he did a good job at that.
Yeah.
He and a partner founded a company in Detroit, and I went to work there as Lad did, and all the employees would say, "Your dad's the nice one."
Well, that's compared to
That's compared to Vic Martin,
all
who
love Dad.
was tough. Here's Mom's sense of humor. That she had a sense of humor, and she could appreciate kidding. So we were out at the farm. She would serve us ice cream, and she was very frugal. And so it was cost cutter ice cream.
Kroger, cost cutter.
Kroger cost cutter, and I said, what does Consumer Reports say about this? It's like Haagen-Dazs and Friars, and then cost cutter.
Okay, that's the end of our panel.
Give it up for Lolly for emceeing.